Oh, here we are again. It is August now. Um, yeah, we're well over halfway through the year. We're in that decline towards the end. And this is Lightbox, the Wenimate podcast, the official podcast of Wenimate, the West Australian Animation Association. Whether you're an aspiring animator, a seasoned professional, or simply a fan of the magical world of animation, you've come to the right place. Oh, my name is Tanya Beeson.
I'm David O'Connell.
Hi, everybody, and I'm Lindsay Flay.
And we'll be your guide in this monthly journey into the heart of the animation industry in Western Australia. Let's do a little bit of our usual layout. As I play around with layouts, I'm like a producer. Yes.
Ooh.
Each month, Lightbox will bring you the latest and greatest in animation news, from upcoming films and shows to industry discussions that will inspire, empower the talented animators who call Western Australia home. We'll also delve into the creative processes and challenges faced by our local animators as they work tirelessly to bring their unique visions to life. So buckle up and get ready to be amazed as we explore the vibrant, ever-evolving world of West Australian animation. This is Lightbox, and we're just getting started. On top of that, we wish to acknowledge and honour the traditional custodians of the land we are streaming from, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We recognise and celebrate their enduring culture, the rich tapestry of Indigenous arts, and the invaluable contributions they make to the vibrancy and cultural diversity to this city and region.
And before we dive into today's content, just issue a quick advisory warning. Look, our channel is generally suitable for most audiences, but there are occasions when we delve into topics or showcase content that might not be appropriate for younger viewers. So we strive to create engaging content for everyone, but parental advisement is necessary. So maybe look at it first before screening it to the younger audiences. Today should be good, considering who we're talking about, but you never know.
Wow, yeah. Today is very much the epitome of children's movies and television, I suppose you could say, especially movies.
Brought a lot of us up, yes.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I know kids, some kids today who'd be terrified of some of the stuff, but let's not reveal too much. Okay. Let's get on easy peasy with the basic announcements. Of course, the 3:30 Awards night has been and gone, and you should have, if you pay attention to our socials, have found out the winners of the 3:30 Awards. And I had them up and ready to go. So we had Succubus winning the open category. Very, very cool film. So there's a whole bunch of alerts coming through for me. Stop that. Go away. Open up web pages while you're trying to do a podcast.
Not a good idea.
Oh, caught red-handed with Wikipedia, eh?
Is that what it is? Wikipedia. No, Discord is firing in the background, as you can probably guess, Lindsay. So I'm going to close that. Yeah.
It is news, actually, but for us.
Yes.
So anyway, don't panic, audience. It's okay.
Let's kick ourselves off the socials. There we go. So we can focus entirely on this podcast. Of course, the tertiary category, thankfully, my students won. I'm super happy.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
The Level Up short film was an amazing one, and super proud. Considering they did need much input from me at all, they did that all off their own back. It was amazing.
Oh, wow, that was pretty cool.
And No Misbehaving, our school age winner by a student from John Curtin. So that's very, very cool. At a level of quality that is well outside what I normally expect from the school category. So hopefully we'll see good things for that person in the future. So,
There's a lot of good from the high school.
yes. Okay. I had my notes up and I've closed them. Where are there we go. Woohoo! Okay. Also, Wham Bam's coming mid-October. And on top of Wham Bam, well, I should talk about what Wham Bam is, just for those people who are tuning in for the first time and have no idea. Wham Bam is a weekend. We basically camp at SAE. Shelley and the crew open their doors to us, and we produce animations for a weekend. And it is one of the funnest weekends to on our calendar. Definitely getting involved, hanging out, eating trash food, and animating with a whole bunch of people who are pretty much your peers in the industry. So, yeah, jump on board, try and get involved in Wham Bam. We'll announce the date soon. We don't have a logo for the AGM coming up as well. So the Wanamate AGM will be occurring in the next couple of months. We announced it over the 330 Awards, and basically, in order to maintain ourselves as a industry body, we have to go through these processes to exist. So our annual general meeting is open to any of our membership, and since we don't charge membership dues, you, our viewers, and our the members of our various socials are our membership, and you're invited to come along, get involved in some of the decision making, listen to me talk about the state of the animation industry, hopefully have a bit of a good time. There might be sandwiches. I'm going to promise sandwiches, even if I make them myself. We will be also spilling the entire committee, which means basically the committee will go up for review because we haven't been for a couple of years. We will lose our positions, and we'll people can come in and nominate whoever they want for the Wanamate committee. That includes the chair position, the treasurer, the media person, the secretary. Though I'm going to vote Travis back into that straight away. And yeah, we've got need for some fresh young blood on the committee. I've sort of been banding about it. The three of us sitting here are 50 plus. Yeah,
that's right. Get some under 40s in there. Should be good.
Yeah, some under 40s, or maybe some under, super keen under 30s.
Yep.
Yeah, because we're old, and the industry is not about us anymore.
Hey, we're Wanamate. We're the Raymond set. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need you young bloods to come in and get involved and have a say. And
all you have to do is tell us who Ray Martin is to pass. If you don't know, you're in. It's like
someone's seen an anime pass.
Would
be good.
Why is Daryl Summers no longer on TV?
Yeah, Anya, Sonia. Jeez.
Yeah. Okay. That's like, okay. We are old.
That's better. Calm blue ocean. We're good. Animation.
Okay.
Now I feel better.
Let's get. I think I need to do this with a glass of wine. It's not like we're.
I just remembered my coffee's brewing on the kitchen table. Hold on.
Anyway, this is live, people.
This is live. This is what live is about. Yeah. Well done. I've got my coffee.
I'm just drinking water.
and Powerpuff Girl mugs. Because
Nice.
the best.
Been liquid tannin by now, but it's all part of the act. But here we go.
Oh, he's got a jug as well. Look at that.
Oh, check it out. This thing is magnificent. Look at that. Oh.
Okay.
All right.
Let's get back into some serious business now that we're.
Indeed.
All right.
Enough of that.
So let's go into news, I guess.
I have a funny feeling people watch it for these bits.
Isn't that what a podcast's all about? If you want boring,
Pretty much. Yeah.
boring shows that actually run to
News.
schedule and do things properly, it's what free to air is all about.
Let's talk about the news.
Yep.
So, the trailer for the upcoming Scott Pilgrim animated series is out.
Not bad,
It looks pretty good.
I gotta say.
It's way more anime than I would have liked, which is a strange thing to say considering the anime stylings of the original manga that
Yeah.
spawned it. But yeah, I don't know.
It's what the kids have been into.
The
Well, I saw
kids
the
are
kids
definitely
age.
going to.
All the kids
Get
aged
into
under
it.
40, 50, 60. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I absolutely loathe Scott Pilgrim as a character. I will I will definitely be hate watching this. And yeah, it looks good. We'll see.
Looks pretty cool.
I just hope Knives lives up to her name and stabs him.
Yeah. I think that's just what she does with her gaze every time.
Oh, is it really?
Oh, possibly. Anyway, we've also this is an odd one because it's still in limbo, but Prodigy season 2. Look at Star Trek convention, 57-year mission convention. Season 2 clips were shown. It's apparently halfway complete, so 10 episodes are actually done, and it does see a return of a Voyager fan favorite,
The Doctor.
played by Robert Picardo. Yes.
Gosh, I can hardly wait.
If I hadn't have said anything, my first scream of excitement would be Roxanne Biggs Dawson, but no, Robert Picardo.
Yeah,
We like him,
he's good.
but he's not
Joe, possibly. We don't know.
Oh, Kez would have been amazing. Oh, yeah, it could be called Joe, actually. Yeah,
Could be Joe. But
could be
yeah.
called Joe. But
No, they're still shopping it around, so maybe we'll see Prodigy season 2 in the future at a different home. Who knows?
yeah, because even though it's still being made, it's been taken off Paramount Plus.
Yep, and there's no plans to release it on physical media. So we might just have season 1 on physical media, and I think that's only available in US.
We haven't added it to the news, but did we speak about Disney cutting off its physical media?
No, we haven't, because last month it wasn't confirmed, and it was just a rumor. And yeah, this month it has actually been confirmed.
Well, can we just completely say, Disney, you're a bunch of idiots. Not everyone has streaming. You know, some people like to build their physical collections of things and actually own stuff that they buy rather than rent them.
And we should state, it's not physical media per se, it's just physical media in Australia.
That's even worse.
Yes, it is.
That's freaking criminal. We're being just because we're a better country than them.
Someone upset by the lack of merch. Just check out the backgrounds on the here, and you can see who this is most likely to affect.
Yeah.
Mine's behind glass. It's discreet.
Probably Dave there. Though you cannot see. Actually, you cannot see mine.
We've all got a lot in common. It's in the cupboard behind me.
Nice.
Mine's that way, about 30 feet.
That's interesting. That's very BBC of them. That's
Yeah.
I was like having a bit of a nostalgia fix. And I thought, oh yeah, Doctor Who, one of the old classic New Who bundle things, and it was like a three-figure sum. I was like, what?
So, well, Dave knows all the pain of that because you've been collecting Doctor Who for a long time.
Yeah. So, that's the one I'm thinking of. The new is it the John?
Oh no, this is the previous one. But yeah,
right.
You can get it through. You should be able to get it through. I don't think there's Australian release for the next Peter Davison era one.
Okay.
At the moment, the next anyway, we're going to get off topic there. I'll talk about that later.
Pricing, you're looking at almost like $1,000 plus. Oh no, you'd be looking at about $2,000 or $3,000 for the entire series from.
Yeah, they're trying to work out how to skip Colin Baker for Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah, it's something like $150 season at the moment.
Good.
Oh, actually, hold on. I should check. I forgot to open up the comments. There we go. They should be.
Hey.
People should be able to comment, hopefully.
Okay. Anyway,
throw your fruit this way.
Yeah, see, this is my distractions.
Yes, we are completely on distraction mode at this moment, so let's focus.
Let's
talk about the Annies.
Ooh, the Annies. So now the Annies, the big news of the Annies is that they have been put off till next year. Which is
really,
so 2024. However, the films that have been nominated, or the episodes of TV series that have been nominated, including the ones that I've got on the screen here, for best animated episode, include Bob's Burgers, The Plight Before Christmas, which I haven't seen this one, but I love Bob's Burgers, and I will get to it. Primal, The Shadow of Fate.
Of course.
Which, great episode. Have you seen it? Season 2 is, I wouldn't say it's the strongest season 1, but it's still amazing.
No, but it's got it. Overall, I agree, but it's got moments that are just phenomenal in it. There are certain moments that you just jaw.
Well, the episode in question sort of turns Spear into the villain of the episode. So very cool. You've got the Night Family episode of Rick and Morty, which was
that's pretty good.
Was a hilarious episode. The Simpsons anime themed Treehouse of Horror 33.
Oh God.
Yeah. I love that design of Lisa Simpson. That's great.
The Death Note segment is impressive.
Nice. And Intergalactic, which I never saw, but you did, Dave? Did you?
I did. It is worthwhile. I didn't think it hit as hard as some of the other animated films around at the time, but it is an interesting mood piece.
And it's out on Netflix and easy to see. Yeah. And in fact, Rick and Morty, all of these have. So Bob's Burgers is on Disney Plus. Prime has Primal, both seasons now. Netflix for Rick and Morty. I'm assuming Simpsons is on Disney Plus, and Intergalactic is in Netflix. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Woohoo!
We've got a fair bit coming up next month as well, so that's good. And a lot of it's coming towards the movie cinema.
Woohoo! Let's talk about a bunch of stuff that's coming. Tell us what First Slam Dunk is.
Okay,
that's actually, I saw the trailer of this one.
Yeah, it's a basically popular sports manga and a popular sports anime, and this is the. I don't know if it's a redo of this or of it or not, but yeah, anime about a basketball club.
There's a lot of rotoscoping from the looks of things. In terms of its styling, it does feel like rotoscoping. I'm not sure when there actually is. You can never tell with some Japanese animation because it is really clean and really nice. But,
It does look like one of those stories you'd see from one of those old anthology mangas that come out every month that would be like 5,000 pages thick, and they'd have a mahjong comic and a baseball comic.
Yeah, that's literally where it started.
And in the middle of it, you'd see a basketball comic, and there it is in film form.
It's been around since I think it's the 80s, and it's something that's passed underneath my radar. I have to
definitely rang a few bells for me. So
yeah, but I haven't sat down and watched any of it. So
my entry, apart from Kimber the White Lion and all the old classics, the ones you don't even realize were Japanese when you're growing up in the day. But basically, the thing that blew my socks off when I first came across it was a stack of old manga comics in a youth hostel in Tasmania, 1979. The stack was literally a foot and a half high. It was all made of multicolored newsprint. Some of them were like blue ink on white pages. Some of it was, black ink on green pages. And I kind of opened up one of these things and had my socks knocked off. And it was a mahjong comic. And then reading through the single anthology that was about that thick, I should say, was this string of wildly different anime, from Star Wars knockoffs to samurai to you name it. And it was just one of the big anthology manga that would come out every month in Japan. And basically there'd been some Japanese travelers passing through, and they just offloaded several kilograms of the stuff. And so I was sitting there for hours, like going through the stuff. And yeah, it was amazing.
Slam Dunk is opening at Event and a few other places this week. So yeah, definitely get on that. It's something with decades of history. Absolute decades of history behind it.
So I'm curious to check it out.
Disenchantment, as the world's greatest Disney princess, Princess Bean is back in September for the final season. Though hopefully they get some extra episodes like Futurama has been. Check out episode 2 of the re-release of Futurama. It's amazing. It's so good. But yeah, Disenchantment, of course. Princess Bean is back. She's had a kiss with the mermaid, which
And Elfa had a relationship with a boat, if I recall.
True. Yeah, I'm just gonna fangirl squee over here over Disenchantment because I love it so
Something
much.
for everyone.
Yes. I am currently binging the other 4 seasons just so I'm ready for it.
Excellent.
Well, you're going to have a good September then, because there's a few things coming out. Okay, we've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles coming out, Mutant Mayhem, on the 7th. And it's already out in America and getting good reviews. Reviews.
Looks good.
Yeah.
I'm interested because a few things are being released in America first. Like, we're not getting Blue Beetle until mid-September as well. So
yeah.
Which is not pure animation, but it's definitely a special effects laden film.
Actually, speaking of that, we've got Ahsoka coming very soon as well. So that's animated adjacent, because it's pretty much Rebels season 5 from the sounds of it. So yeah, and that's going to be very special effects heavy.
I've heard mixed reviews of it, though. We as a Rebels fan, I'm kind of expecting myself to be on the more positive side of it, because I will have seen all the backstory to it. But we'll see how that goes. So yeah.
All right, and also coming on the 7th, we've got Star Trek Lower Decks season 4. So yes, now that it's officially Trek canon, it always was. But after we've seen it actually come in Strange New Worlds, come join us now and watch it.
Oh, but the new CG Gorn in Strange New Worlds worth mentioning there as well, considering considering the CG Gorn that they had in Enterprise prior to, they've done a good job of updating them.
Well,
it feels like a potential threat alien at a level, beyond the
Well,
rubber.
they
sort of
may
like
have a tail, so although maybe they always did. Maybe he just dropped it when he was beamed off the ship. You never know.
well, yes, they went from a musical episode straight into an aliens cliffhanger, so it was
very, very nice season in terms of Strange New Worlds. So.
Yeah,
not bad for light entertainment, I must say. It has. I mean, that show has more Technicolor clouds in it than the old Flash Gordon movie. So it's like, okay, it's like, I mean, look at it. Why wouldn't you have singing and monsters in it? I mean, seriously.
Okay. Also on the 7th from Netflix, we've got Gamma Rebirth. So I'm a big kaiju fan, and Gamma hasn't been around since the early 2000s.
How big a kaiju fan are you, Dave?
I thought he was about to say, that hasn't been a kaiju ad for whole hours now. What's going on?
I'm a moderate kaiju fan, let's put it, because there's people out there
days,
that like very. Yeah.
I would have thought you were big.
No, I can't identify suit actors of Godzilla or different suits of Godzilla from a picture. So no, I'm not going to put myself on that level. There's people out there that can do. Nice. So yeah, no, but I'm enjoying it.
So you're not a Teenage Mutant Ninja fan. You're a Kaiju Ninja Turtle fan. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Getting a bit inbred here.
Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken is coming. I'm super excited to see this film too. It dropped by the wayside. It sort of fell out of the box office. It's had a long delay in its release here in Australia. It was out in mid-June or July. In the US.
Really?
I really like the look of it, and I'm kind of keen to see how it all comes together. And
the Kraken thing might come back this episode very soon, I suspect.
Yeah.
What?
So Teenage Kraken's probably one of the few that is. The Teenage Kraken and the Mutant Turtles are probably the two that most interest me, mainly because of the Kraken looks so different, in a kind of commercial way. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, I mean, just look at the image. It's just got this amazing vibe, and the characters just look great. So there's a real kick and a spark in the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah,
that's really good. And it's again different from the TV show, which they've just released, which was also pretty excellent. So it's doing all the right things and telling all the right stories and conveying all the right characters, and it should be a blast. So. Yeah.
I like that they completely redesign things for the Turtles every iteration. It's not like
I concur.
It's it's a show that kind of benefits from every single new version becomes a new reboot.
Like it's not beholden to law. Kind of each one can be. You can pick the one you want or read through it.
And they change it. So you got a character called Krang in one, and they become a race of aliens called the Krang in another. And it's, Baxter Stockman's a fly in this one, and April O'Neil's a programmer in this one, or a reporter in this one. It's good. I love it.
Well, I guess we have to come to the bottom of the barrel.
Coming out the 21st, we've got Paw Patrol as well. So, it's up for the kids.
I'm sure someone will watch that.
Yeah, I'm sure lots of little kiddies will.
Yeah, my nephews are totally into the Paw Patrol. Yeah.
We'll have to get them onto Bluey straight away.
Yes.
So.
Cool.
All right. Although it can't be all bad. The main human character has rings under their eyes, so maybe there's something subtle going on. So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Could you imagine looking after that many dogs?
Yeah, true. Anyway,
you'd be run rampant. Yeah. Okay. So that's our upcoming. Let's get on to what we were going to talk about, because it's sort of been sitting in the background as a potential topic to talk about for a little while. Let's jump into the world of Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah.
Okay. From before I let any of these guys delve into the intricacies, Ray Harryhausen was one of the first animators I knew his name of. Because of a little film called Clash of the Titans, which was out in '81 and was kind of the inspiring film. We'll go into a little bit of that because there's a lot of awesomeness. But Ray's name was there to be one of those inspiring animators for me. And he's had a really, really interesting life, as you can see from some of the models that he's got posed next to him. But who is going to talk about the history of Ray Harryhausen?
Oh, I think we will be. Let's put it this way. Even back in the 50s, they were name dropping a guy that would normally be the special effects guy tucked away in the backyard. And
I think he might be like the only person that I could think of that, special effects artist that headlines the movie as such. It's a genre in and of itself.
A Harryhausen animation. Yes.
Yeah. And it was almost like Rasbanken, except in the movie version of Rasbanken. And it has that sort of old school, and I mean old school, like before I was born, old school, great grandparents era, where the style of stop motion they did was very much like Rankin Bass or George Powell Puppetoon. If you've seen one of those, it looks really, really old fashioned and very, what's the word? Mother Goose or Little Golden Books. Like back when little kids were little kids, and essentially they made children's television for it. So it's got this kind of old world charm, I guess, where the stop motion almost looks like wooden toy level styling, especially in his younger career. I guess all Star Wars turned up, where suddenly special effects characters or special effects people like, say, Phil Tippett or John Dykstra or what's his name, the famous makeup effects artist.
You're talking about. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Dick Smith was one, and the other guy was not the Dick Smith you're thinking of, not Mr. Helicopter. Oh no. Hang on, visual effects.
You're talking Cronenberg?
No, he's a director. He's a director.
Or are you talking Tom Savini?
No, that's someone else again. Bloody hell! I mean, post Star Wars, there was a whole galaxy of these guys that a lot of us kiddywinks suddenly took an interest in. So I mean, in the early '80s, horror directors were almost becoming like rock stars. You had Cronenberg, you had John Carpenter, and they were sort of becoming. Oh, John Landis, before he had his terrible problems. Well, before the terrible incident of the Twilight Zone movie, where someone died in a helicopter accident. All these characters were like pop stars to some degree, and Ray Harryhausen was sort of like the earliest one. Normally you'd hear Alfred Hitchcock becoming a big movie star, and that's because they'd self-promote. But Ray Harryhausen was someone that basically established a lot of how creature effects and how creatures are presented as characters on the big screen. And that includes everything from Jurassic Park to the modern version of Godzilla to some degree.
The original version of Godzilla, even. Like Godzilla owes a lot, which we're going to be talking about soon, I suspect.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So in terms of that, we'll if we jump back to the beginning,
so back to 1920.
Back to 1920. So, born in LA, he started out doing puppetry, which is pretty cool. Pre Henson doing puppetry during the Second World War. And as a kid, he saw King Kong in 1933. I can't imagine what that was. Actually, I can imagine what that was like, because there's definitely some films that make that mark for me, including Clash of the Titans.
what Harryhausen did for you, Willis O'Brien did for Ray, basically.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So
in fact,
so Willis O'Brien did the original King Kong animation, and he was doing a lot of that that monster stop motion stuff. So he did the Land of the Lost,
The Lost World, and
that's it.
Yeah, of course, King Kong would be his two major ones, and as we'll get to, Mighty Joe Young.
Yeah, which turned out to be Ray's first film role, I think, or first film gig. I think, like big feature gig, because up to that point he'd been working on a lot of small little puppetoon shorts, which was essentially like the old cartoons, Silly Symphonies and stuff, but they were sort of stop motion wooden toy style things, and that was where he did a lot of his stuff. So yeah, I actually went to one of Ray's little shows. He was touring in Sydney at one point, and with a group of about 50 people, we were sort of sitting there wrapped as he was showing his old work, and it was like, Mother Goose and all that sort of stuff from 1940 something. It was quite different to what we were expecting. And then he sort of became the sort of the Fangoria of the 50s, really, with all those amazing stop motion monsters.
But 1949, Mighty Joe Young was where he first made his bones, and part of it, I think it won an Academy Award for best special effects as well, best visual effects. And it's an odd movie, kind of a more sympathetic King Kong even.
So Willis O'Brien worked on that with him. Willis O'Brien was lead on that, and he was first technician.
So essentially, that would have been their follow-up movie to King Kong, and they probably would have assumed that, well, everyone's would have forgotten about King Kong in this day and age, 20 years later almost, and 16 years later. So that's sort of like a sort of spiritual sequel, really. I've never seen it. It's one of those things I need to check out.
I've seen bits and pieces of it. I've never seen it in its entirety, but obviously there was a remake as well. In the early 2000s.
That's right. There was too, wasn't there?
Yeah. I quite like the remake.
Oh, okay.
It obviously the subject matter is not groundbreaking the way it was back in the 40s, but
a lot of the films that we're talking about are considered to be quite juvenile and pretty crap, and it's really Ray's work that's the reason why you go there and watch it. It's classic.
Kind of the way the Universal Monsters relies on the actors playing those monsters to put.
Absolutely.
Ray's certainly the heart of the films that we're talking about. There's no
definitely,
doubt.
And they're pretty terrible films, but they're warmly remembered. I mean, it's and some of that stuff is really quite distinctive and quite what's the word? Not gripping, evocative,
and that
they'll stay with you. So
and that kind of King Kong storyline, that ethos of a monster with a heart against the world, and just trying to find its place in it, and being turned on by all mankind is something that is a thematic thread throughout Harryhausen's work in pieces.
So I guess the big takeaway from Ray's work is that they're not monsters, they're creatures, which means they're actually characters. So if you look at even during the 80s when they have all these kind of monsters and stuff like that, all the main stars are part of a creature feature. They're not a monster feature. And it's not like, it's a slasher film or something like that. It's just a creature that has a life of its own and is a star in its own right. And it does its thing and performs. Just look at the Jurassic Park dinosaurs. That's Phil Tippett picking up from Ray there. I guess you'd be the spiritual successor in most people's eyes of
one of them.
And he had to like change gears really bloody fast when that film was coming into production, mainly because CGI was turning up. But these are the sort of creatures we're looking at, and you've probably seen this quite a few times.
Yeah, and Ray studied acting. When he got into trying to create stuff, he actually studied acting so he could learn how to give the things he was animating a degree of realism, and so he also studied anatomy, I should say, as well, so he could give a physical realism, but to give it the performance a degree of realism, he studied acting as well. And for fencing, for the sword fights, in later movies. He studied fencing, so he could actually, know how a skeleton would actually fight.
Yeah, it pays off. So
Yeah, it does. All right, so from Marty Joe Young, the first one that he was actual head of visual effects was Beast of 20,000 from 20,000 Fathoms, which is kind of the movie that sort of started the radioactive monster on a rampage gig, and it's based on I think it's a Ray Harryhausen short story initially.
I think Sea Creature.
Ray Bradbury.
Sorry, I said Harryhausen, didn't I? Sorry, Ray Bradbury. Yep, me copper.
Yep. Falling in love with the lighthouse, basically.
Yeah.
The original Ray Bradbury story, and that was Ray Bradbury's first encounter with Hollywood, which burnt him very badly. He vowed never again, I think. So that's the lore I was taught. Yeah.
But it's it's as I said, it was influential for a lot of the 1950s cinema to come, including Godzilla. It's certainly one of the influences to Godzilla itself. There's a lot of parallels there in it, but obviously that's filtered through a very Japanese lens as it goes.
It was a rather silly film for American audiences, but it had quite a different effect, I think, as an influence on Japanese audiences.
Because it was able to talk about things that they weren't able to discuss directly as well.
Absolutely right. And they weren't afraid to kind of show kids it either. In fact, the first Godzilla is anything but a kid's film. It's actually quite terrifying.
Absolutely.
And you can tell this is a cultural document. Godzilla is a cultural document from a culture that knows what happens when cities disappear. And I'm not just talking nuclear ones. I'm talking about Tokyo getting destroyed in the great earthquakes and periodic great disasters they have around the Ring of Fire in the Pacific. Just recently we had the tsunami. And you can definitely see where a Godzilla comes from. You have this thing that just destroys everything, and we're just the ants on the surface that get in the way. It's quite a profound difference. Yeah.
But for Harryhausen, basically, the mid to late 50s was a lot of atomic horror monster sort of creature flicks. So you've got Beasts from 20,000 Phantoms, which talked about it came from beneath the sea, which was the
giant octopus,
legged octopus, sextopus technically, I guess. But,
True.
Yeah, but that was also his first team up with producer.
It loves a bridge.
Yes. But from producer Charles Schneer, who teamed up with him and became his work colleague for 12 films, 26 odd years, and is partly responsible for the term Dynamation. We've got Earth versus the Flying Saucers in 1956, which that's a terrible movie. Great. It is. But the saucer
flying saucers are great.
Impressive, yeah. And the damage that they do. I mean, it's referenced in Mars by Burton later on in Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Okay. And 20 Million Miles to Earth, which I haven't actually seen, and I really want to at some stage, because that's, again, riffing on that sort of King Kong aspect with Ymir, a creature that comes from Venus, is discovered in a rocket crash, and grows from a small egg to a terrifying creature that rampages through Rome. But it's King Kong without any sympathetic human characters and a sympathetic creature,
In fantasy film terms, very disposable. So anyway, but the big one we're all thinking of is
Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Yeah, and this is really the first one that he really cracked the code and made it big, and it made a big splash. So it's a bit of a minor renaissance in fantasy. There was fantasy beforehand. There's certainly fantasy afterwards. It grows out of also the historical epics that were popular, biblical epics that were popular at the time. But it just was something new as far as terms of special effects. As soon as that Cyclops blunders on screen, it's completely different than any other movie at the time.
His effects make the film. Like,
Yeah,
Oh, completely. His effects are why we're there in the first place. It's
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of biblical epics out there, and there was Cecil B. DeMille doing some pretty amazing stuff with his special effects. But a lot of the ancient Greek, what would call it, monsteramas and stuff like that, all the kind of wild and woolly classical monsters, just didn't get an airing until Ray Harryhausen started animating them.
and it is a serious movie. It's not massively big budget, but it's definitely not a B grade movie like he's been working on before.
No.
You know, it's Bernard Herrmann's score, so someone was
That's right.
with,
Crikey, I forgot.
someone was working with Alfred Hitchcock doing Psycho. So it is an impressive piece, and it was something that really, really did sort of open up opportunities for Schneer and Harryhausen. And this was the first term that Dynamation was used. So do you want to discuss the magic of Dynamation?
Dynamation. Like,
All right,
I even have a graphic grabbed from Harryhausen.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So this is from Harryhausen's, is it the Wikipedia page or something from their, I think it's from their actual website. So Dynamation was a marketing term coined by Schmier. And essentially, the best way to think of Dynamation as an idea is to think of Jerry Anderson's Supermarionation. Now, how is this branding important? Well, think of what the Thunderbirds were. This is the late 60s, almost the 1970s, and they're still making string puppet films for kids. And yet, Thunderbirds rocks and rolls, partly because of all the pyrotechnics and the models, and the quite genuinely awesome design work in it. And a lot of those guys went on to go into did all the Star Wars effects and miniatures for things like Alien and all these other films. But Dynamation is sort of like this, like, hey kids, we do stop motion, but we've now branded it as Dynamation. And it was almost like branded like this super duper special effects thing. It's like, oh, this film isn't like any old film, it has Dynamation. It's been decades in the making, on the drawing board, like, here it is, ding.
Rumor has it comes from the actual word itself comes from the Dynaflow steering wheel of a 1950s car. So, and that's
why am I unsurprised? Dynamo, yes. So anyway, you watch it for the Dynamation. You don't watch it for the actual rest of the film, really. But anyway, enough of that. So essentially, what is it? And the idea is that you've got stop motion, or effectively, if you're into visual effects or modern days CGI, it's basically compositing with your visual effect, i.e. your stop motion in it. So it combines stop motion with live action in a way that hadn't quite been done as seamlessly as this. So essentially what you see here is you've got a screen which your set is sitting on. So there's your monster and a screen. And in the background, you've got on the left a projector. And the projector shines through the screen, but it's a modified projector. It only shows one frame at a time. So it's designed so that your film doesn't catch fire inside the thing. And you basically do your stop motion frame by frame using the background as a reference. Then in the foreground, you have a mask, essentially a glass sheet, and you paint out a matte in black paint on the mask. So if you've got, say, the terror from 20,000 Leagues or 20,000 Fathoms, wrapping a tentacle around a stop motion model, you'll find there's some live action San Francisco in the background, and there'll be people in the foreground running around in a panic. And so you take the little area that you want the monster to appear in, so it's in front of the horizon, but behind people in the foreground doing a nice little panic, and you paint out a shape. So you see a hole in the glass window, shoot through it, frame by frame, hours and hours and hours of manipulating this. So what you get is the background and the miniature on black. Okay, and then you take out that glass sheet, put in another one that has the opposite matte in there. So the area that you exposed before is now painted black, and all the other stuff, the foreground, is now exposed. You roll back the camera, roll back the projector, reshoot it again, and essentially what you've got is a double exposure with background, midground, and foreground all as one image. Now, if you've ever done After Effects or Photoshop, you'll instantly recognize what this is. This is essentially digital layering without the digital. So this is how you'd make stuff in analog. It's an incredibly laborious process, and it requires an insane amount of prep. Like, what was unique about it was that the miniatures were directly interacting with what was happening in the films, which was completely unheard of at the time.
Yeah.
So this was like a whole new,
Context.
quantum leap, if you like. So most films would have, some lizard in slow motion with stuff glued to its head, and then they'd cut away to a completely different shot of people doing a random panicking, running around on the street shot. Then they'd cut back to the monster and then cut back to the people, and it just looked naff. Whereas Dynamation, so-called, actually put you in there, and he got good at it. Basically, I mean, Ray, with every film, he just got more and more sophisticated. So it wasn't just a thing on a static background. He ended up having it where you could have a fight with a skeleton.
Yeah, and that's what you get.
That's what you get.
Yeah.
So, for example, the classic one is there's Jason holding off all these skeletons. So they practice and practice and practice their choreography. So the background played, the photography is first rate. Then all Ray has to do is get it all to work. And you think, solo effort, it's quite a bit of, when you're doing stop motion, it's very, very hard to make decisions on the fly in the middle of stop motion. You've got to have it all thought out in your head. Your actual animation is frame by frame sequential. There's no key poses or anything like that. You start and you just work your way through it. So so a lot of Ray's work is this odd blend of lots and lots and lots of planning, and then this spontaneous performance that just pops out of nowhere when he does the animation. So the animation is a one-off ephemeral thing. I guess it you could say it makes it kind of spontaneous or something in a kind of labored way. But it's this weird.
I'm the tiger. You actually did the monkey crying, which it wasn't planned to do at any stage, but he actually decided that the moment called for it and animates a tear down his eye.
So in a funny kind of way, it's one of the few examples I can think of where animation almost is spontaneous in an agonizingly long process to live action performance, and that's what I think gives it a little bit of spark. But you got to remember, Ray's a one-man band here. He's the old-fashioned the special effects guy. It's like they're making a western and we think, we need a train coming off a train track, or we need a Lancaster bomber to blow up a German town. We'll ring up the special effects guy and he'll do the special effect. And they'd build a model miniature and railway, and there'd be this whole stuff, and you'd be watching this film, and then suddenly in the middle of it there's this train running off a bridge that blows up. It's like, what was that? Fade to black. It's all over in 6 frames or 6 seconds or something. And there's no mention of it anywhere in the movie. It's like these were just like unsung heroes. Unlike Ray and Dynamation, where they actually made it front and center, which is why it stands out. And it was such a big influence on people.
Oh, absolutely.
So, go on.
So I was going to say, with Seventh, this is the first skeleton fight that he actually does. It's a one-on-one fight. It's one of the key sequences in the film itself. It's pretty much the climax of it, because after that, despite having a dragon, that's really the hero moment for Sinbad. It's an amazing sequence, and he was animating it using some of the stunt work and filming of the original fight, and then the poor actor playing Sinbad had to shadow fight basically by himself on screen, and then Ray pop in the animation afterwards, complete with contacts, which is
absolutely
moments when the special effect actually interact with the environment.
Yes.
So you'd have an effect placed in there where I don't know, a bag would be cut, or a figurehead would pull down the set. So they'd actually use a general special effect, physical effect to show that in film. And Ray had cut his animation to that moment. So it crosses the boundary there. So you buy the illusion more.
That's right. He'd also do things in an age before VHS and frame by frame, like when we go through and just check it all out. He also would do things where if a sword crossed, he'd actually have a little segment of sword tip that he'd put on and match position so it looked like the live action sword was passing in front of the other sword. And it'd only be there for like a frame or two, if that.
Yeah.
Or if, say, something was picking up a cowboy or some weird prehistoric monster was picking up somebody, he'd include a model of the character's boot. And so he'd reach in, he'd place the model boot in the model claw and spend, I guess, quite a bit of annoying time trying to make it match, and then he'd animate it up. And the model work that was shot would obscure the live action rear projection, so he could make it really look like, hey, we go, I'm not just going to be a little miniature in a window, I'm going to reach through that window and pick up some wriggling victim and eat them up or something, or wrestle with them or something like that. So there's lots of sleight of hand and things going behind screens and stuff like that. But it's all very clever. It all had to be worked out, and then performance was made up. Well, was with all that. It's like storyboarding. When you storyboard, you don't necessarily use the storyboards, but everyone's thinking about what they're doing. So when it actually happens, it just happens, and you don't have to worry about how it's going to work out. The trick is not getting interrupted when you're doing the stop motion.
Yeah, especially when you're animating a multi-headed hydra or something along those lines.
His ultimate shot, I think I recall him talking about, was the Medusa in your favorite film there, Tanya.
Yes,
sorry, that was Flash Gordon. Your other favorite film, Clash of the Titans.
Oh, come on, Flash Gordon is not my favorite film.
Flash Gordon's awesome.
Flash Gordon's amazing. But yes, so the Medusa in Clash of the Titans obviously is a multi-level animation going on. You've got the character itself interacting with Perseus and the soldiers as they go in to try and get Medusa's head, because being a cursed priestess of Athena is not bad enough that you have to have a bunch of guys coming in to chop off your head. But
well, she's an occupational health hazard. Come on.
She was living in an isolated island, not bothering anyone.
Except for roving heroes. Come on. Oh, anyway.
So
what
so he's animating the snake separately. As well as the tail. I love the addition of the rattlesnake tail on the end. It's a really nice touch.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah.
And that's a bit of a flourish that they would have worked out. And then you just would have executed.
In contrast, because he was a monster creator and he was creating them, himself, he went for that scaly skin. Rather than a pristine woman with just snake hair. He's really stylized her. She doesn't have legs. She has the snake lower half of the body and slithers through the room. Very, very
but
nice.
She's got high cheekbones and classical beautiful features as well in there,
and an expressive face as well. So I'm not sure the level of the models, whether there was a second head model.
I don't think there was.
No,
all
that detail is in the smaller, smaller. We're talking about, we're talking
something about so big. So she's like a very large figurine. And I've seen her in person. She's amazing. It looks both. Oh, that's it. It's a little down to earth stop motion puppet. It's like, my God, it survived the production. Maybe it's a copy, and I saw the little skeletons. The skeletons in Jason and the Argonauts were like, so big and fully articulated little bendable puppets, and they're beautiful little things to watch at. But sorry, Tanya.
But in terms of that, after Sinbad, basically each film is a step up in what they were getting ready to do. Adding new monsters. Making the scope of each of the battles a little bit more. Obviously, I've got the photo there of Jason the Argonauts versus the skeletons, which is 7 folds more complex than the Sinbad version. You've got the giant metal statue Talos that looks like it's actually metal, despite the fact that it's probably just What would have it been made out of, Flint's?
Oh, it would have been latex or rubber, I think.
Yeah.
Something a little durable anyway. I mean, some of these things would either have a completely articulate mechanical armature in them. Given that that lasted so long, I'd say that's probably what he would have made. The cheap traditional way is to use solder wire as your interior and then wrap it and then stick it inside a foam rubber or a foam, a styrofoam character of some kind.
But they're not latex, because some of those models exist
some of those
till today.
I'm not sure what the material was, but it was all carefully built and baked and stuff. But he was always increasing the sophistication of the shot, so it wasn't just simply more scale and 7 skeletons and Sinbad. No. It would have also been tracking shots and shots where the cameras are moving. But the trouble is, he's the solo artist, so there's a hard ceiling over what you can do without having to be up for 9 days in a row trying to get the thing to work. And it's something
4
that
months. It's 4 months in that skeleton fight in Sinbad.
Yeah, that makes sense. Each one of those shots would have just about done him in, I think.
In Sinbad, it was 4 months. The single skeleton.
Sorry, not Sinbad. Sorry.
Argonauts.
The 7 skeleton fight.
Right. So each shot would have been a single take, and then it would have been a recovery period, I think, around each one.
It's amazing. Those skeletons look fantastic.
You can see why it was the climax of the film. It just blew everybody's socks off back then. They just couldn't believe it. And it's one of the iconic images from the 50s.
It's often considered his best work. So.
I think Clash of the Titans, I think, would give it a good run for its money. I'd say the Medusa is his best work.
I'm saying the film Chasing the Argonauts as a film overall is considered his best. We can argue as to what the best sequence is.
Let's put it this way.
I'm sorry, Burgess Meredith doesn't appear in Sinbad or Jason and the Argonauts.
So he's working from the 40s. He's an artist whose work survives the transition from Star Wars that turned everything on its head. And you got to take into account that even though Star Wars has a lot of Ray Harryhausen attributes, it's an industrial form of the same.
Yes.
Right? So Harryhausen is the special effects guy. He's a solo vaudeville performer by comparison. I mean, he's not really, but
he's the artist.
There's only so far he can take his shots before it's just beyond him. You couldn't do a handheld tracking shot. I mean, Phil Tippett managed to achieve the impossible. And I remember when Empire Strikes Back came out, everybody I saw was commenting on the opening aerial shot of a Tauntaun running across the snow and the AT&Ts, and that was definitely Ray Harryhausen taken to the next level past that.
Let's talk about influences. People influenced by Harryhausen.
Well, as you can see in the top left, we have Rankin Bass's Santa Claus Defeats the Martians. That's
Phil Tippett, of course. Yeah, we've mentioned his name.
He would be definitely the Ray Harryhausen.
And I haven't seen Mad God, but by all accounts, it's amazing.
Oh, it's phenomenal! Yeah,
it's must see it on big screen first. Tormented.
Of course, the ATSTs and the Empire Strikes Back, the chess set in the original Star Wars. You've got
that's like a film compared to the AT&Ts.
He's definitely standing on Harryhausen's shoulders when he's developing and doing all this. I think Tippett's work is a little more refined than Harryhausen's. His model's better. He's definitely taken everything that Ray Harryhausen did by himself and learned by himself, and is utilizing it and pushing it to the next level. So,
absolutely.
Whereas Harryhausen set the precedent, Phil Tippett is the much better animator.
I think so.
And his animation blends a lot better. You've got most of the stop motion films that have come out since then, influenced by Harryhausen. Lakers stuff specifically is gorgeous to the high level of detail of the surface textures, which which Harryhausen was aware of and used himself for the characters. Not so much the level that Lakers Studio does. It's just amazing skill set being able to do stop motion. And you spoke about not using keyframes. Straight ahead animation actually can be really easy if you're doing a process and going through and know what you're doing. But if you don't have an end goal, it's confusing as hell sometimes.
That's right. You need, your dope sheet is like, I'm going to do this in 3 seconds. I'm going to do this in 50 frames. I'm going to do this in 15 frames. I'm going to do this in 8 frames. You might have a little dope sheet that says, right, this is like a shopping list. And then you just try and hit it. I did that when I was making my Lego film, which, by some strange coincidence, I see in the bottom right-hand corner there. So it's I can totally get where he's coming from. So
I promised the diplomas I could make you cry by putting it there, Lynn.
Or embarrassed, one of the two. Oh God, what am I doing here? It's the thing that keeps following me around. It's cool. It's one of those things where you've got to thoroughly internalize the thing before you get going. Otherwise, you'll just never get through it, I find. And so I found the process of making that stuff incredibly arduous and difficult, and getting sunburnt by the lights and sore backs, and next time use bigger characters, God help me. And then someone invented CGI. Oh, thank you.
Well,
someone's saying that he's not crying.
But what keeps it going is the prize of what you're going to get out of it. So what you get with stop motion that you don't get with other forms of animation is this almost alchemaic sense that something has actually come to life, whether it's found objects suddenly being animated or whether it's Jan Spunkmeyer's amazing lumps of clay primordially lopping around on a desktop. There's something about it that this is actual real stuff doing stuff that real stuff can't do. And that's
everything really since
gives
81.
It something visceral. Yeah.
Everything since 81. It's been 40 years since Harryhausen stopped making movies, and Aardman has risen, and
absolutely.
And we've got people who are standing on the shoulders of the people who were standing on Harryhausen's shoulders. So,
and you could argue that the guy who did King Kong kicked off the whole thing.
Yeah, where Phil Tippett took the stop motion skill set and built rigs that could animate 3D models. For Jurassic Park, which because they were going to do it in stop motion Harryhausen style before they decided to use CG.
That definitely pays homage to a lot of Harryhausen's work. Guanji pays homage to.
A lot of that stuff. A million years BC has to be brought up because Raquel Welch in a fur bikini.
Which is probably one of the few times that Ray Harryhausen actually got sort of put aside in the marketing for some other aspect of the film.
I don't know. Didn't he work on Flash Gordon, or was that someone else?
Didn't think so.
Spinosaurus?
Oh, hold on. What?
Or was that Phil Tippett? I can't remember. I was one of them.
I don't think it was Harryhausen. Didn't come up in my research. So.
Hang on. I might have my wires crossed here. Hang on. Hi there, kids. We have an internet emergency. Just 1 second.
Hello. I'm just checking the references, which means I'm looking at Wikipedia. Yes.
Oh God,
Flash Gordon. Yeah, if you know the film, you know the film. Let's.
It's an infamous, shall we say, mid-70s. You know how they make pornographic versions of films? Well, it's one of those back in the day before that became a thing.
Okay. No, the monster in it is called Neza Harrier, and is named after Ray Harryhausen.
It's a homage, right?
Yeah. It does have Rick Baker working in it, so there we go. There is.
Well, Rick
Baker. Yep.
Yeah,
He's
so
another big name in the visual effects, effects, makeup, animatronics. No, he's more makeup, actually.
Jim
post.
Danford is responsible.
Okay,
Excellent.
there you go. You've got Tim Burton. Tim Burton stuff. Obviously, Tim Burton's art style very much works better with stop motion than any other type of animation.
Yes.
I kind of like his illustrations, but his stop motion looks great.
It's pretty memorable. There's still people buying the merch now, 30 years later.
And you've got, not just Nightmare Before Christmas, but The Corpse Bride, Frank and Weenie, all of those. So, pretty cool stuff. What else is that? There's also Guillermo del Toro stuff. So not only del Toro's stop motion stuff, like Pinocchio, which was fairly recent and is a gorgeous film, and if you can see it, or he's not.
It's one of the
Burton movies. Yeah, we're getting comments. Finally.
Yeah, Burton movies.
Yes.
Yeah, we've already mentioned Mars Attacks and how that owes a lot to Earth versus the Flying Saucers.
Well, that's Tim Burton again. So there aren't too many live-action directors that handled animation very well, but
even Guillermo del Toro's live-action effects stuff is reminiscent, and his special effects, like body makeup effects, are reminiscent of Harryhausen's animation style, and it's curious. Obviously, it's easy to put Doug Jones in a suit and make him look like a stop-motion character because he's
a living amateur. Yes.
Yeah, he is a living amateur, and is able to balance in weird ways. So, but yeah. Yes. You definitely get that look, that feel, that Harryhausen style across Del Toro's stuff.
Yeah, and Peter Jackson, of course, was another one that was influenced as well. You can certainly see it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So his early stuff.
And Smog's definitely playing to the vaudeville crowd when he's doing his stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great little legacy. Yeah. But
mind you, I'm when you've got Benedict Cumberbatch crawling around on the floor on all fours in a motion capture suit.
Well, yeah.
Well, but it's not just the for Peter Jackson. Obviously, the stuff that he was using, the rigging stuff that he was building for the motion capture work for Lord of the Rings, and prior to that, the Frighteners. Okay, there's definitely using a lot of those skills from Harryhausen's School of Animation.
Absolutely. So, for all you students of 2D and 3D animation and visual effects, you'll find essentially most of the software that we're building is all based off principles of things like, well, if you're doing 3D animation and you're doing rigging, that's all. You're looking at the grandkids of stuff that was invented by Phil Tippett, who was basically channeling Ray Harryhausen.
Even with 2D rigging these days.
Yeah. So, occasionally hear some IT grummets carry on about how we should dump all the analog references to software and go pure digital. It's like, well, you can take a running jump, sunshine. Basically, we're working with software that's essentially metaphor for the old-fashioned multi-framed, composited, glass-painted mats era of stuff, whether it's the Disney 4-level, 2-story tall multi-plane camera setup, or whether it's Ray Harryhausen shooting effectively analog CGI between two planes of double exposed film. This is why all his old work his models look great, but the background looks a bit bleary because by the time you've done the multiple exposures and the rear projection, the poor old live action plate is about 3 generations older than the actual thing that's being stop motioned in the middle. So there's always that discrepancy between the quality of the background and the actual thing in the foreground.
That being said, like modern compositing from the Wrath of Khan onwards, referencing the Harryhausen's animation style, you've got 3D animators who are standing on the shoulders of stop motion animators. Now digital 2D rigging is following a lot of the same steps, and I think there's this. At the time, there was a lot of that fear of the new technology coming through, and this keeps coming back to the current panic about AI, and it's just we're just gonna run into new tools that everyone's going to panic about for a little while, because the stop motion animators were literally shitting themselves when 3D
it wasn't just stop motion animators; it was all the Disney animators shitting themselves and all the traditional animators. I was working on Happy Feet around the noughties, and the first of the stop motion, the first of the motion captured stuff was starting to emerge, like Gollum and stuff like that, and there was almost palpable panic. And it's like, well, you know, it's almost like you mentioned all the Disney animators jumping up and down and complaining about stop motion when it first appeared. It's not going to happen. In any case, whether it works or not, that's for the audience to decide, really. And a lot of these motion capture stuff didn't hold up. I think Tintin arguably does, if it could stop running around like a bloody roller coaster ride for more than 3 seconds. But most of that other stuff didn't. However, what you find is that the methods and techniques will permeate the rest of the industry, like they always do, and become sort of standard tools that we use. It's like AI and ChatGPT, I can imagine turning into nothing more than yet another spell checker in your Word document sometime in the future.
That's what I use it for.
Yeah, that's what most people use it for. It's like, I need to write some bureaucratic boilerplate. Oh wait, I've got a robot that does that for me. Yeah, robot, do some bureaucracy for me. And that's all the other stuff. That's
exactly what it's being used for.
That's what most people who use ChatGPT use it for. So the only people I've seen using generative AI effectively, nearly all of them have been an art director at some point in their career, or still are an art director. And they know how to read in lots and lots and lots of little inputs and think, no, that one, follow that up. Okay, off it goes. No, it's like a process of elimination. And then you see those really cool AI.
Just as long.
You need a discerning eye for that stuff for it to be really effective. You can certainly generate it off the top of your head, but AI isn't actually artificial intelligence. It's more like statistical analysis and applying it visually effectively. It's just regurgitating what it's internalized, following a whole pile of rules that vaguely follow some aspects of human intelligence.
This is where we actually
and then it spits out random
what it is.
Well, I think we should do an AI episode where someone actually comes up here and says as a guest, here's what it actually is.
Let's see if we can
definitely to put it on our list,
because it's a lot of people are stressed about it. We probably need someone who is technically at the level of using that stuff, and can talk about it ad nauseum the way we do. Because we'll hunt that person down before we do that episode.
That we could probably have several people on that, but that's just the latest in a long string of technological changes. Now, what makes it kind of weird is that now it's affecting the people that actually, it's now starting to disrupt the people typically who used to disrupt everyone else. So suddenly it's a world ending. Oh my God, disruptive. Who knew? Says the Elon Musks of this world, as they both decry it and develop it at the same time.
All right, so we're about 1:20. So shall we end this off by talking about perhaps our favourite Harryhausen creature moments?
I can easily do that. I've spoken about Medusa, so you know that's number one for me. Probably Pegasus from Clash as well. The horse animation, feathers,
Yes.
hard to do. Like, and that
Bird wings are notorious.
not only that, right? Harryhausen was animating the flapping of the wings, but added the horse galloping with its legs, which is kind of a thing that a six-legged creature would do as they were flapping, because of the way wings move in unison. And so the horse is actually galloping through the sky, but also has that mass being pulled up by great wings. It's
that's pretty cool.
Really, really nice piece of animation. So that's my number one pick after Medusa.
Okay, Medusa's hard to go past because, let's face it, the guy animated Torchlight so he could do Medusa. Red glow special effect is part of the animation. He's changing a gel on it over and over again, which is incredible. But the other one that I really think is worthwhile is in Golden Voyages of Sinbad, the Kali sequence. It's phenomenal. I mean, the reference for that is actual Indian dancer with her student strapped to her back, so he'd at least know how 4 arms could move, so he could, sort of extrapolate the other 2 going in there. The fight sequences of that are actually 3 stuntmen strapped together with swords.
Good God.
It's a phenomenal sequence. And
a bit more respectful than the Xena version.
Yes, absolutely.
I haven't seen the Xena version.
Apologize afterwards.
You're right about that one. I was about to say Medusa again, but now I'm thinking twice. Actually, there's a lot. Actually, he did one of the later ones. He did, I think, was the 70s. Hang on, Eye of the Tiger, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, where he animated a baboon. Like a baboon, almost like a CGI stand-in, but it's a stop-motion baboon. That's kind of really subtle and very interesting. I mean, it's obviously stop motion, but it fooled a lot of people. It was, how did they get it to do that? It's like, no way, seriously? Oh. Maybe I'm a stop-motion animator myself, or former stop-motion animator myself. But yeah, that fooled a few people. So I thought that was one. But I'd say, Kali or Medusa. All the skeletons.
Yeah, come on. We haven't had a skeleton. We haven't had a skeleton. We haven't had a dinosaur. Come on. This is the last chance.
I'm thinking the skeletons by a whisker. It's like there's a whole pack of horses in the lead group. In terms of impact, I thought the bronze statue was great. Like, I was like, oh my God, that really feels like it's good. If that thing falls over, we're going to get squashed. Hang on, it's only that big. But
that initial moment when the head suddenly turns.
Yes, and you hear the creak, the sound, and the sound of the image fits perfectly, and it really feels stiff and bronze-like. It's one of the few early stop motions I've seen where I actually feel, oh God, that thing is 100 feet tall. It's made of bronze, and it'll don't get stepped on. So in terms of impact, that would definitely be one. The other one that would have impact would be the skeleton fight.
Yeah,
when you watch it as a little kid, it's so unexpected. It's like, holy moly!
The Jason the Argonauts one.
Yeah. I mean, it's a terrible film, but that final moment is the Skelly fight, and it's definitely the thing you remember walking out of the cinema thinking, how did they do that?
In terms of the animals and the creatures and stuff like that, the Eohippus from Grangi, it's awesome. It's just so nice. It's a small little proto horse, and
that's right.
It's just
Have you ever seen the? I saw the First Men on the Moon in 1964. I saw that on DVD recently, or like 5 years ago.
The original.
The 1964 one, where it's very it's got that 60s Jules Verne Disney style animated fantasy epic about it. It feels a bit Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or those Magnificent Men and their flying machines, something. But they have a 1960s moon landing that discovers there's been an 18th century Victorian expedition that's beaten them to it 100 years prior, and they run into the Selenites, the old moon men of H.G. Wells's moon civilization. You've probably almost never seen it, except maybe you probably channel hopped across
And
it
the
on a
moon-
Sunday
and the moon
afternoon on
cow
Channel
as
9
well.
50 years ago. Yep, but it's not too bad, but kind of forgettable a little bit. But that had some little moments in there that I was like, oh man, this is kind of cool. It's
Yeah, we
it's
kind
gotta
of
be Ray Harryhausen.
glossed
But-
over the sort of literary ones, Gulliver's
Yeah.
Travels.
There's a whole pile of them. They're all pretty good. So that's why I'm
Um,
conflicted. Like,
sorry, Three Lords of
yeah.
Gulliver, Mysterious
So
Island,
I would
and
have
First Man on the Moon.
to say it's either, in terms of execution, it's either Kali or Medusa, and I'll probably go with Medusa because she, as a character, I think does a lot. And the snakes are all separate little characters, and they're all spontaneous. So yeah, considering that he probably shot all that in one take, uninterrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
It's
say.
also
I mean,
something
I wonder if
very
there's an element of rotoscoping with Kali, but there's no rotoscoping with Medusa.
No,
So I'm
no.
going to say Medusa. I'm with you there, Tanya.
Mm.
And it is-
In terms of comments coming through, not on
Mhm.
any of the podcast comments.
Oh yeah.
Travis, who is still watching, picked up my comment about nominating him for the committee. And I got a message that seems a little rude, Travis.
Excellent.
But Harryhausen has made a huge mark on animation. And,
Well, I guess
definitely deserves to be remembered.
absolutely. If Phil Tippett has done anything with passing the baton, is that he actually uses a team, and he adapts and continues the great work, if you like. So I got a lot of time for Phil. I think poor old Phil's been mauled by the industry over the years, and that's. But,
I remembered who you were talking about when you were talking about special effects animators who used a bit of stop motion, and you're talking about Stan Winston.
Oh, that's it.
Oh.
God, Stan. He was like a Stan
That's
Winston.
what my brain does. I retain the shit. I mean, the important bits of animation.
Yes. Stan Winston, who did everything on everything up until his premature death. He will be sadly missed. He's like the Jim Henson of visual effects, basically. So Jim Henson did for, sock puppets what Stan Winston did for visual effects in the 80s. He became the standout star, I think. He did everything from the animatronic style, puppetry style, like hand puppetry style. Like, I think if you've seen the dog thing and the thing from another world, that's essentially a hand puppet. If you look at visual effects with compositing and miniatures and all that stuff, Stan is the man, and he left us way too early.
Stop motion 50s. Built into makeup effects, like
and the kind of complex puppetry effects that were a hallmark of early 80s films. Yeah,
have we got ourselves another animator to do visual effects topic to do another time?
We possibly do have a leaping point from here to definitely talk, but we've got a few leaping points to think about, so we should talk about what we're going to talk about next time. Not make any promises this time.
No. We've had a string of pretty easy subjects to kind of pick.
Dynamic has gone to the wayside while we
Dynamation. Wow.
Yeah.
It was an incidental thing to his career, really. It was a way of packaging it in a convenient form of describing it.
It's purely marketing, but it works.
It's like discovering.
I always love the word super marionation.
Oh yeah, it's like
amazing.
How, like you're just selling string puppets to people. It's like, well done, good work.
True.
Maybe AI might be a thing, but that might take a bit of research. So that'll be down the track, I imagine.
So we'll let you know what we're
definitely
doing next month.
We need a guest star on here. So
next time. There's people who have been touching base with us, so we could potentially talk to them. And
Very good.
Let's sort that out for next time. And
I think so.
And Cinefest Oz, do you have anything to say about?
I will be down representing various hats at Cinefest Oz. You will see me doing animation presentations as part of the community days down there. Cinefest Oz runs from next Tuesday, which is the 29th, through to the 3rd of August. So I think I'm in Bunbury for a few days and then Busselton for a few days. Come down and see me, come and talk to us. Our relationship with Cinefest Oz is an important one. It's a good way to touch base with West Australian animators and West Australian filmmakers. It is a big film conference. Apparently Hugo Weaving is going to be there this year.
So it's our bridge to the live action world.
Yeah,
the Twin Cities of Bunbury and Busselton.
I don't have any DVDs to sign like The Matrix, but my cousin's last name is Anderson, so I'm going to get.
There you go.
What? So getting to sign your cousin?
Yeah, no, get him to do like a voicemail recording for him or something.
Yeah.
Cool.
Excellent.
Anyway, no, let's not abuse and annoy celebrities out there in the world while they're trying to promote us. So in terms of signing us off, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from them. Catch you later, viewers.
See you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Adios.